Consciousness Now TV. Ollie has been a mentor to me in a lot of ways in terms of getting your book on Amazon Kindle and learning all the ways to get to being a bestseller on Amazon. Ollie has written a wonderful book on creating your perfect lifestyle, and he will tell us more about that today. And he's also written quite a few other books. He's a very prolific writer and even getting into science fiction now. Ollie, I really loved your book. I know that you are living on this planet and you're a great example of living your passion and your purpose and really living from your highest self. And I know you've gone through some transitions in your life. Can you talk to us about the transitions that you've gone through in your life and how that's impacted you and even how it has impacted you as a writer and someone bringing your passion to the planet?
Okay, lots of questions there. So, well, firstly, thank you for the introduction. And you know, I don't always live to my higher self, but I guess I do try to. So yeah, okay. So a little bit about my background and the reason my first book came about. So I was you know, working for a big corporation. And I was, you know, I was part of the rat race, and I felt like I was, and I was doing the grind, and I was trying to quote unquote get ahead, and at the same time I was trying to build a property portfolio, and I was trying to advance my career, and you know, I was doing so many things which I've sort of fallen into rather than decided to do, and I was being reactive rather than proactive. And so I found myself in this terrible state where even though I was getting ahead and, you know, my property portfolio was growing and my career was advancing, I was earning more money, but the thing was not only was I not happy, but I was just so out of balance, it was starting to kill me, just about. That's how it felt. And so, you know, I'll give you an example. You know, I'm a very healthy person. I'm also a very positive person. But, you know, I was lying in bed one night and I hadn't done any exercise, hadn't done anything, but my heart was racing as if I had been running. And I was just so stressed and I had so much on my mind. And I was lying in bed at night and my heart was racing. And I thought to myself, I could actually die in my sleep. I'm so stressed. And, you know, I was living on 6 hours sleep and my days were crazy. And it was no fun at all. And, you know, another quick example, when I was in the middle of this state, I got a handwritten letter from my mum. Of course, you know, back then, you know, there was no email, so you only got handwritten letters. I was too stressed to even open and read this handwritten letter by my mum. And you know, I love my mum. And I was interested in what she was doing. She lived in a different city, and my dad, obviously, I was interested in what he was doing. And I didn't even have the headspace to open this letter. And, you know, when you get to that stage, you're really in a bad state. And, you know, soon afterwards, I went to a doctor and I said, look, I'm just so stressed and things are not working out. And I explained to him what I was doing, and he said to me, look, if you do not make a lifestyle change, you are going to get seriously sick. Wow. And I guess I needed somebody to tell me that, somebody other than a friend or my wife or whatever, to sit down and tell me, look, for goodness sake, the way you're living your life is just going to end in disaster. And so, you know, that was the impetus for me to start making changes. And I've got to say that it wasn't something that happened overnight. In fact, that, you know, you don't go from being that stressed and that sleep deprived to, you know, having a weekend off and feeling fine on Monday. It took about yeah, you really don't. It honestly took about 6 months. I guess I had to break a lot of habits. I guess I had to transition myself out of being this stress merchant and this, you know, doing all these crazy things to, you know, getting my life back in balance. And during that few months, I woke up one morning and I sort of literally had this revelation, you know, that just hit me really, that life is not about working your butt off for somebody else, but life is about lifestyle, and it's about balance, and it's about doing the things that you want to do, and probably more important than anything else, doing the things that you're really passionate about. Because you know, I know, everybody who's watching this knows from our own personal experience, that when you're doing something you love, it doesn't feel like work. For
Amen.
example,
Amen. I love that. That is so true.
It's so true. And I'll give you a recent example. When I was launching my book, Creating the Perfect Lifestyle, last year, I had 6 weeks in a row where I didn't take one day off. So I worked 7 days a week for 6 weeks solid. And a couple of those were working till 5 a.m. So I'd work all day, I'd work all night till 5 a.m. and then finally crash. And, you know, I never once felt stressed. I never felt anxious. I never felt down. I felt energized and enthusiastic because I was doing something I loved. I was launching something I was passionate about. And, you know, it was the total opposite, even though I was probably working just as hard. And I wouldn't recommend, you know, I mean, 6 weeks is fine as a block. I wouldn't recommend anybody does that 365 days a year. But as a block, it's fine. And, you know, the point is I never got stressed, and it was energizing. I was enthusiastic about it, and it felt great. So that's the complete difference between how I used to live and how I now live. And I'm in the fortunate position of pretty much just doing things that I love doing, and therefore it doesn't feel like work. So the short version is that having made that decision, this is back in the mid to late 90s really, having made that decision that I wanted to have a life that worked for me, a life that revolved around things that I loved doing and was passionate about, and then made that transition within the next couple of years, and then started doing exactly that. Started my own business, which enabled me to work from home as long as I had an internet connection and a phone. So if I was at a cafe, I could still do everything I needed to do, whatever. I just started having a family, so my kids were at home. And from that day onwards, when I first started my business that was all about lifestyle, I managed to get myself to a stage where I was doing exactly what I wanted to do. I set out with a plan, had a 5-year plan, and that was to earn enough income, you know, not a massive income. I mean, I certainly sacrificed a lot of income. I could have earned more if I'd stayed on the corporate ladder, no question, but then, you know, there was a period where, you know, a long period, a number of years, where I only worked around about 25 hours a week. And I spent tons of time with my friends, my family, did all the things I wanted to do. I did lots of exercise, well, still do actually. So this continues. Time for reading, time for all those things I never had time for. And so having made that transition and knowing that it's just strategies and just ways of doing things, I thought, well, everybody should be living like this. So I thought, well, why don't I write a book about how I managed that transition and how I was successful in doing it, so anybody else can pick up this blueprint and do it. So it did actually take me 7 years to research and write the book. I've got a degree in psychology, so I started, even back when I did my psychology degree some time ago, that's back in the 80s I did that. Even then I was starting to think about success and achievement and how I could, you know, get more of that into my life. So I certainly called upon my psych degree, and then I've got a degree in accounting and finance as well. And so I've pulled in a lot of my financial knowledge as well, which is why it took me so long to research and write the book. And then, as we've talked about, I launched it in November 2011, and thankfully it's gone out to thousands of people, and they seem to be enjoying it.
Yeah, and you really do a great job in your book of giving people exercises to do. So it's not just talking about, oh, you know, you could do this or that. You give people specific things that they can go do and that they can work on in order to, you know, get to where they want to go, and to really evaluate their own personality and looking at their own lifestyle and what it means to have a great lifestyle for them. Not what somebody on TV tells them or anything like that, but really what they want to create and change in their life. And, you know, like you said, you can take baby steps. It doesn't have to be, oh, I got this news from the doctor, now I'm going to change everything. And I know, you know, being a psychologist myself, that doesn't really work. I've seen people who have open heart surgery that make some changes, but then they slowly go back to the way they were, and other people who change overnight and change everything. So it really depends on you and whoever the person is to make those changes. But you give really specific exercises, and I really love that about your book as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I say right at the beginning of my book, and this is from a researcher called Edgar Dale, is that we remember only 10% of what we read, but we remember 90% of what we actually do. And so if you do an exercise, you're going to remember 90% of what you learnt doing that exercise, whereas if you just read it off a page, you'd remember and learn only 10%. So it is vitally important to actually do stuff rather than just passively read.
Right, right. And it is a choice. I mean, people could passively read your book and not do any of the exercises, but the choice is there. And you're absolutely right. I mean, you have to take the steps in order to make change, definitely.
You do.
Yeah. So tell us, what is one of the key areas of your expertise, Ollie, and what you're most passionate about?
Well, as I've said already, one of the things I'm really passionate about is lifestyle and encouraging other people to live the life of their dreams, but also the life that they were called to, and live doing what they were passionate about. And I've got a personal belief that we are all created with something that we're particularly good at, some gift or some number of gifts, and that is what we should be concentrating our life in. And if we do that, then the world is going to be a wonderful place. And so I'm certainly all about trying to encourage people to find their passions and their dreams and live those. And I'm not, my book isn't about how to be rich and famous and have summer houses all over the world. It's really about finding what the core of who you are is created to be, and then live that. And if you do that, then not only is your world and your place going to be better, but you're going to make the world a better place. And that, talking to other people about that, mentoring people about that, through my book, through my website, through my videos, etc., that is a huge part of what I'm about in my area of expertise. Now, another area of expertise is social media, partly because I spent 2 years learning how to market my book before I even started. So that, it was very successful in November 2011, but that's because of the hard work I put in the 2 years before that, understanding how internet marketing and social media worked, connecting with people in my niche. And therefore, when I launched in November, there was a lot of buzz around it because I had a lot of people already interested. And of course, now that I've been so successful on Amazon and publishing my book, and because I spent that whole 2 years, 2 years working on it, now, an area of expertise I have, which I'm already talking to a number of people about, is how they can be successful on Amazon, and just how easy it is to launch a book on Amazon. And interestingly, I read recently that if you walk down any major street in the world and ask random people that you come across, would you consider writing a book at some time in your life? 8 out of 10 people will say yes. So most people have a book inside them or plan to write a book. Now, never before in the history of the world has it been easier to get your book in front of thousands of people than it is right now. And now, obviously it took me a while previously, but right now, when I finish writing a book and it's in Word form, it can be completely uploaded to Amazon within 2 hours of me finishing the book.
Isn't that amazing? It just is amazing, really. It's
amazing. And, it's still amazing to me, even though I've done it a number of times now. I've got 8 books up on Amazon right now. The 9th is going up today. And it's still amazing to me. But the thing is, there are tons of people out there who just have no idea about this. They think that publishing a book is all about sending hundreds of manuscripts, trying to find an agent, getting tons of rejection slips. Even if you do get accepted, you've got an 18-month waiting, a wait while everything's put together and the cover's organised and the paper and the marketing and whatever else. And then even if you do end up getting a publishing deal and getting your book out there, the average published book in the US sells under 500 copies. That's the average. And most books don't sell even 100 copies, even if you're published by a mainstream publishing company.
That is just amazing.
And it's amazing, and it's sort of, from a different perspective, having been on Amazon, it's sort of crazy because, I sold sort of well over 1,000 copies in the first week that I was up on Amazon, and now my techniques and my strategies are getting better and better, and, within a week, I'm always going to get hundreds of sales on a book that I haven't even really properly launched, and there's not much buzz about it. I'm still getting lots of sales because Amazon give you the ability to immediately connect with potential tens of millions of people. So yeah, the whole publishing game has changed, and because I've spent so long researching it, and on a daily basis, I'm talking to authors and finding out their experiences. I'm also talking to Amazon themselves and they're answering my questions, and of course I'm experimenting with the books I've got up there. So now I have some real expertise in how to get your book on Amazon in front of as many people as possible and become an Amazon #1 bestseller.
Yeah, so you really have both sides of it. I mean, you have the part that I love to do is to inspire people to listen to that message that's inside of them. What's their unique message? What do they have inside of them? Like you say, there's so many people that would write a book if they, took the time. And I found in writing, you can just take 15 to 20 minutes a day to set aside to create that time. Or you can create block time, which is an hour to 2 hours or 2 weeks, then go off. But a lot of people are writing their books without taking that major block time. And I know there's a lot of authors, and I work with people who are learning how to do video, and a lot of authors and ministers, other therapists and healers and people like that. And maybe they're sitting there saying, gosh, I really want to write that book, but how do I go about it? How do they learn from you? How can they hook up with you to learn about, I'm going to post your book on creating the perfect lifestyle, and that will be access to them. But how do they access you to learn more about writing a book and getting it on Amazon and going down that path that you've taken?
Yeah, sure. That's a good question. It's a pertinent question. I don't even know if you know this, but I've got a book that I'm bringing out in late February, so I'm not sure when you're going to show this video, but it's going to be late February that it comes out. It's called How to Become an Amazon #1 Best-Selling Author and Make Money. And that book, I'm not holding anything back. I'm telling people exactly from beginning to end how you do everything that I've done on Amazon, every trick, trick's not a very good word because it makes it sound like I'm sort of tricking people, but every strategy and everything I've found that works on Amazon, right from the 2 years research I did on internet marketing and social media, right up to launching your book and getting it to bestseller status. So that book will be on Amazon late February.
I'll be the first to buy it.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff that I've found, even in the last 3 months since I've launched, about how to maximize your sales on Amazon, there are so many great, amazing things to do on Amazon that even established authors, possibly especially established authors, just don't know about because they just put their book up, or maybe their publishing company puts it up. And because Amazon is a website and it's all about the internet and it's all about marketing, all of that knowledge that I've gained over the last 2 years on internet marketing and social media and understanding stuff has all fed into that book. So, I've got some things that I can talk people through on this video to whet their appetite, but to be honest, grabbing that book is going to be the best thing people can do. And I should say, actually, another thing that people don't often know about Amazon is that you can buy a book on Amazon, and if within 7 days you don't like it or it's not for you, you can send it back to Amazon. They'll give you a complete refund. So I guess you could say that, this book is not going to be cheap. I haven't decided the final, but it's not going to be cheap, but it's going to be invaluable if you're an author. But if you read the book within 5 or 6 days and you think you haven't got good money, you're great value, then just give it back to Amazon and they'll give you a complete refund. So it's risk-free from that point of view.
No, one thing that you said, Ollie, is a lot of times even the published authors don't know really what to do. And I've worked with some published authors where they have a company and they think the company's going to take care of doing all that. And usually a publishing company wants you to create a platform first, and then they'll take a look at your book. And we kind of had a discussion about this in a debate. Is it better to try to wait and get your book published by, some publishing company, or to go through and create a platform yourself by doing self-publishing, and then maybe after that platform is there, then to go and look for a publishing company? And even once you get published by a company and you have a contract and everything, knowing some of these tips and tricks, or techniques to use on Amazon just further promotes you. Because I see some people just saying, well, my company's taking care of that, and they just really feel like they can't do anything more. So it sounds like your book is going to cover all of that. Is that right?
Well, yeah, it absolutely is. But let me tell you right up front, I can stop that debate in its tracks, because there is no point even thinking about a traditional publisher anymore. Traditional publishing is absolutely dying. It's a dying industry. It probably won't even exist except for maybe children's books and big, massive colour picture books. It probably won't even exist in 10 years' time. I doubt there'll be a Main Street bookstore in 20 years' time, pretty much anywhere in the world except old collectible rare books, whatever. That industry is absolutely on the way out. I sold more books in the first week of being on Amazon than I think 95% of all authors who publish their book. Not only that, but if you publish your book, there are so many middlemen in terms of the printer, the cover designer, the publisher themselves, the wholesaler, the retailer, that the author often only gets $2 a copy for a book that sells in the store for $30.
Right.
Well, Creating the Perfect Lifestyle currently is $8.97, of which I get 70%. So I'm not only selling more books than if it was a physical book, but I'm getting a bigger cut, much bigger cut, and the book is far more accessible at $8.97 than it would be if it was $30. People are happy to just go and buy tons of books between $5 and $10 on Amazon, whereas you have to think twice if you're going to go and buy 5 books for $30 or $40 in a retail bookstore. So to me, the only way that I would publish a book with a traditional publisher is if they came to me and offered me a large advance, or my ego was such that I said, well, I'd really actually like to have my books in a bookstore so that people can go in and I can go in and do book signings. But even then, I'd make sure that I retained the digital rights myself. So for me, there's absolutely no debate. If you're an author and you want to get your book out there, because what do authors want? I tell you what authors want. I know, because I talk to them all the time, and I'm an author from the bottom of my heart. Yeah. First thing authors want is the most people in the world to read their book. That's what they first want. The second thing they want is to get recompensed or get paid a reasonable amount for the amount of hours that it took them to write the book. And the third thing they want, and this is the dream, is to make enough money that you can do it full-time. So, you become a full-time author. That's what authors want. Now, Amazon gives you those three things. The first thing it does is it gives you far greater access to readers than ever before, and way better access than exists in any publishing house, unless you're, Stephen King or Stephen Covey, or unless you're a massive big name author, then your absolute best bet, 100%, is to publish digitally on Amazon.com. And you'd think I was an affiliate or I was an employee of theirs, but I'm not. I'm just somebody who's seen. I've had, I'm not sure the exact numbers. It's well over 10,000 downloads of my books in under 3 months. That's 10,000 under 3 months.
Yeah, that's really amazing. That's
amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
And I got to say, if you don't know already and you're watching this, I am completely unknown. Nobody had ever heard of me before November last year. I had no international reputation. Nobody has any knowledge of me. It's not like I had a platform to stand on. I'm got a home office in a little town in New Zealand, and the great thing is you can have the same ability to get your work out there, because if you don't have a platform either, or maybe you do have a platform, and then you've even got a better starting point than I did.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, what a success story that you are. And really, it's from the hard work and the research that you did and the social media that you learned about to do that, all of that, right?
Yeah, that is true. It's I mean, that certainly had an impact, because there's that old saying, if you build it, they will come. And when it comes to the internet, they turns out to be your mum and your grandma. That's it. If you build a website, the only people that's going to come is your mum and your grandma. But if you build a website and you get connected on social media, and you connect with people in your niche, and you help them out, and you talk to them, and you discuss things, and then after a few months of being on social media and being useful and interesting and having tons of connections, and you go, oh, by the way, this is my area of, well, you already know my area of expertise because I've connected with you in that niche, and I'm bringing out a book, or I'm bringing out a product, or whatever. And then you tie in some traditional media in terms of press releases, and maybe some, if you can possibly get yourself on TV, which I was fortunate enough to do just from a press release, get some newspaper stuff happening. If you've had sign-ups on your website, which I talk about in my book as well, if you can bring everything together and a launch date or a launch week, and with one of the things I did with my book on the launch week is to make it 99 cents. So it's a no-brainer. If you're even slightly interested, or you've slightly heard of me, or you've slightly connected with me on social media, and you're like, well, maybe this guy's got something useful to say, plus all of those people who are dying to get the book anyway. I mean, funny thing was, I went out to, I've got about over 3,000 sign-ups on my website, so I went out to a lot of them and said, well, I'm bringing out a book, how much would you pay for it? And the average price was about $23 US. So I knew I had a ton of people who would pay $23 US. So I certainly sacrificed something from them. But then those people who were going to pay $23, delighted to get it for 99 cents. And a lot of them gifted copies to friends and family and ended up spending less, but I sold more copies. See what I mean?
Right. So that's, I just want to stop you and say, so that's your number one technique is you have a launch date, and you say, hey, everybody, here's my launch date, and I'm going to put the book up for 99 cents for a small period of time. So grab your copy while you can. And that's such a powerful technique. And I learned that from you, and I did that myself and became a bestseller too. So it really works.
It does work. And that strategy is not going to work forever, by the way, because, the more people do it, the more the less effective it's going to be. But right now it's still a killer strategy, and right now the press and the traditional media are still really interested in that strategy, because most of the people out there in the world who buy books, they're like, well, how can you spend 7 years writing and researching a book and then sell it for 99 cents? It's crazy. And so they're still in that mindset, and so are the traditional media. So that's a good way to get buzz for your launch as well, is go, look, this is a big book. I've spent a ton of time and energy and research on it, and hey, you can grab it for 99 cents. Of course, it's impossible to sell a physical book for 99 cents because it costs $7 to $10 just to produce it, let alone distribute it and everybody's take their cut. So yeah, the 99 cent strategy still is a killer strategy, and probably will be for most of this year, but it's not going to last forever.
I want to bring up another really important point that you said, and that you spent your time on social media and like Facebook and whatever, and that you give a lot with the people, and I know you through Facebook as well. You give a lot, and you provide your expertise and just even your support and your help to people. And I try to do the same, and I've been in different groups where people will friend me, and then all of a sudden on my page they'll start promoting themselves like, wow, we just kind of met, let's have coffee first, let's get to know each other a little bit first. And also in some of the more private groups, author groups and things, there'll be some people that come on and they want to read through whatever all the advice and everything and only receive, and they're really not there to give and interact. And I know one group that you've created, and that has been really it's a give and take. And the people who are always, just there to read and take, and hey, tell me this, and then they're gone. That's just not the way to do it. That's not the way to instill trust or to be part of a group. So I just wanted to really clarify that and not step over that piece, because I see so many people doing it wrong, and it's really unfortunate. And sometimes I want to say right there, it's like, well, how much are you giving in this group, or maybe they'll make a post and wonder why nobody's commenting it. Well, that's why, because what are you giving also? So it's engendering trust in relationships and social media, not just throwing stuff out there or thinking you're supposed to just receive.
Yeah. So what you're saying is absolutely true. And the funny thing is that it's as you alluded to, it's self-defeating. If you go in and take and don't give, then when it's your turn to promote or it's your turn to get people support, you just don't get it. So I mean, I guess in one way I'm fortunate, because my natural personality is wanting to help people and I get a kick out of other people being successful. So, when you were successful with your book, there was no jealousy whatsoever. I was just delighted for your success. And I suppose that's just part of who I am. Mm-hmm. But I think probably most people are like that to some extent. So, but in terms of social media, you're absolutely right. You need to, when you're engaging with people in social media, your first thing needs to be giving and helping and contributing, and there are just tons of opportunities to do that, because everyone is interested in advice, or in books they might have a book cover and they're like, well, what do you think of this color, or what do you think of my title? And there's always ways to give your opinion. It doesn't cost you anything except a tiny bit of your time. So in terms of social media, get started just familiarizing yourself, introducing yourself, being as helpful as possible. And the old 80-20 rule applies. Probably it's more like 90-10. Spend 90% of your time helping others and just interacting, and then 10% of your time telling people that you've got something coming up, or that there's your book's out shortly, and would they mind helping you with it? So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's self-defeating to be a taker, and it's just amazing how much support you get back when you give out a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you definitely do. So I just want to say that you give a lot in your book, you give a lot online and Facebook and all of that. So I really appreciate your time today, and I'm wondering, how can people get your book, your training? Do they find you on Amazon? Are there other places to find you, your website?
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing I do, and this is actually a good example of how to do a website right. So one, I encourage people to go to my website because there's lots of free stuff on there. And one thing I was going to mention is, when you're setting up a website and a blog, you want to make sure that people are encouraged to give you their name and email address, and obviously to do that you're giving them something in return. So if you go to my website, for example, there's two things that you can get for free. One is a 53-page distilled version of my Creating the Perfect Lifestyle, which, as I said before, is 266 pages. So you get a free 53-page version of that book in exchange for signing in with your name and email address. And also there's a free lifestyle tip service where you get a free lifestyle tip every 3 days for 42 sets of 3 days in a row. So the point I'm making is that when you're setting up a website, you need to set it up, once again, just like we were talking about with social media, with a give being the first thing that you do. So when you go to my website, and the website address is lifestylebook.com, and that's one word, lifestylebook.com, you'll see that you get both of those options: one, to sign in for the free lifestyle tips, and two, to get the free book. So and also on my website you'll see there's a lot of connectivity with social media. The website has over 120 pages and over 60 videos. And if you don't already know this, Google owns YouTube. So having videos on your website pretty much automatically guarantees that the ranking of the website's going to rise. So the first thing is, if you're interested in how to do things right online, because I've spent a ton of time and a ton of money doing it, then have a good look around at my website and you just see how to set up a website and how to have everything coming together to encourage people to give you your contact details. And then, of course, that's why I've got 3,000 people that I can email at the touch of a button going, you know, here's some more information, or I've got this coming out. And also I've built that trust. You know, somebody who's got 42 emails from me, which every single one of those emails is just to try and motivate them and encourage them and build something positive in their life. Then on the 43rd email, I go, oh, by the way, I've got a book coming out and it's 99 cents. Nobody's going to go, oh, this guy's hassling me. They're going to go, oh, fantastic. The guy's got a book and it's 99 cents or it's $5. And, hey, that's great. I'm going to go and grab it. Now, the other thing is, if you go to Amazon.com and type in my name, which is O-L-I for Ollie and H-I-L-L-E for Hilly, then all 8 of my books, and obviously by the time this video comes out, it'll probably be more like 10 or 11, all of my books are going to come out in a list, and they all have the prices, and they all have how many review stars they've had. And of course, I'd love you to buy my book, Creating the Perfect Lifestyle, because, you know, I put my heart and soul into it, and I really believe in that book. But there are at least 3 books on Amazon of mine that are 99 cents. And if you like those, then buy some more. And if you don't, well, thanks for checking them out.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. You're such a wonderful man, a wonderful soul on this planet, and I really appreciate your time and doing this interview. And there will also be the links for people so they can go straight to the links that you've given us to as well, okay?
Hey, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Great.
Thank you so much. This is Consciousness Now TV.